faster than a speeding bullet.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
More powerful than a locomotive.
Hulk! Smash!
Able to leap tall buildings at a single bound.
There's more to them than meets the eye.
It's Superman! Man of Steel!
Like walking into a dream, so unlike what you've seen, so true but it seems. God's been waiting for you, rolling into this place, just giving you a small taste of your afterlife. Yes, I'll stay. You'll be back as soon anyway. I see a distant light, but girl, this can't be right. Such a surreal place to see. So how did this come to be? Right to Wally. And when I think of all the places I just don't belong, I've come to grips with life and realize this is going too far. I don't belong here. We gotta move on here. Escape from this afterlife. 'Cause this time I'm ready to move on and on. Far away from here. Place of open, no pain. Perfect skies and no rain. Can be in this place but we're free. 'Cause we've been waiting for you. All that into this place. Just giving you a small taste of your afterlife. Yes, I'll stay. You'll be back as soon anyway. This peace on earth's not right. No pain, no sign of time. So out of place, don't wanna stay. I feel wrong and that's my sign. I made up my mind. Gave me your hand, but realize I just wanna say goodbye. Please understand I have to leave and carry on my own life. I don't belong here. Gotta move on here. Escape from this afterlife. 'Cause this time I'm right to move on and on. Far away from here. Got nothing against you, and surely I'll miss you. This place for all peace and light. And I know you might take me back inside when the time is right.
Hey there, boils and ghouls. I am very excited to bring to you one of my favorite subjects, mythology. And, Mr. Garner, we call it mythology, but back then, that was their religion. Those were their stories. And we have taken their religion and their stories and their mythology, and we have interbred it into our stories and everything. Do you think anything that we as Americans are doing is going to survive that long? Where 800 to 1,000 years from now is going to be, brought into another country's culture?
Well, we're working on a couple of new religions as we speak, right? I mean, people are working right now to, what would you say, render Elvis divine. And our producer just laughed, and we laughed too, but this is true.
It is.
I mean, there are people right now making claims for Elvis performing miracles. Another religion that's on the rise now is not Islam, is not fundamental Christianity, but the religion of Cthulhu. As some of our listeners know, Cthulhu was a creature invented by H.P. Lovecraft, the fantasy writer, about circa 1920, 1930. Because Lovecraft was sitting at his desk trying to figure out a new monster to put into his newest story, and his friends had just taken him out to dinner at a seafood restaurant, which he hated. They offered him some calamari. He decided he hated that more than the rest of the seafood, so he came up with a new monster called Cthulhu, who has the head of a giant squid. And so because of Lovecraft's hatred for calamari, we have the monster Cthulhu, and we have the religion. And again, it started out as Lovecraft writing a story. And by the way, the laughable thing about it is Lovecraft was an atheist. I mean, he created this new monster as a parody, as a satire on Christianity. And as we speak, just like with Elvis, there are people that devoutly believe that this giant squid-headed creature is lurking in the water off New England and waiting to rise again at the appointed day. So yes, I mean, we're probably 1,000 years from now going to be looking at some fusion of Lovecraft and Elvis, Cthulhu and Elvis. I don't know, maybe a little Islam thrown in there, a little fundamental Christianity. I don't know.
Possibly. But when I say to you Greek mythology, mixing in, which, welcome to the Chuckles Crypt, by the way, Mr. Garner, mixing in with the comics, what characters come to mind to you?
Okay, you want to mix in, mixing in the Greek mythology, the Greek religion with the current culture of America. Gotcha. Okay, that would be Greek myth. Let's see. Let me separate my mythologies here. That would be Hercules.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one.
Yep, Hercules. And the whole pantheon of like Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
The gods of Mount Olympus as.
But I'll take it a step further, and I'll even go into the creatures, the mythology creatures. There are a lot of comics out there, DC and Marvel, that their characters are inspired or somewhat taken, bits and pieces from these characters. One of which, a lot of people out there like X-Men, you get, was it the Archangel, which, a.k.a. Kid Icarus, the man with wings.
Right.
Or you can even go into the fact that maybe they got that from the Harpies there. But you get
either one is Greek.
Either one, they're both Greek. And you get, you go into the DC universe, you get Aquaman, who's holding a trident. Hello, whose is that?
Poseidon?
Yes, exactly. Greek mythology right in your face. And even as, Nurse Misery's favorite character, Wonder Woman, who's her dad?
Would that be Zeus?
Ares.
Okay, close.
Yeah,
that was close.
Close. Ares is her dad. So they're taking all this Greek mythology and they're putting it in here in modern stuff, and they're still feeding it to us. And even, I would go as far as to say Christianity has stolen bits and pieces from Greek mythology.
Well, I know there's
our mythological characters.
Right.
You even go Satan, which, by the way, your favorite. You look at that character, big, bull horns, hoofed. There's only one character that comes to mind with me when I see that.
That would be the great god Pan.
You could do Pan, or you could do the Minotaur.
Well, the Minotaur wasn't right. The Minotaur was a character in Greek mythology, but less than a god.
Right.
The Minotaur
but I'm saying any characters. You can mix around here. You don't even have to do the gods. And you look at the bits and pieces that we have stolen and put into our culture. Was it to wash away theirs and make you forget about it?
Well, I think
there's that strong where it's imprinted in the human mind still to this day.
We can't kill them. In other words, they won't go away. I think it might be both, because I know when the Christian religion started on the rise, they tried to assimilate the coolest stuff of all the old religions to make it more, what would you say, palatable?
Right.
For the ancient societies to become Christian. I know they did that with the Norsemen. Thor, Odin. The Norse mythology. Yeah, and you're right. They probably, they did it to an extent with the Greek mythology, probably the Roman. Yeah, bits and pieces here and there.
The Romans, I don't like saying this, but they borrowed a lot of the stuff from the Greeks. It was still one and the same. They just switched around the names.
Yeah,
of
kind
the
of
stories.
the way that Motley Crue borrows from Alice Cooper.
There you go. It's pretty much, it's Greek mythology. It's just put in the Romans' eyes. They were that strong where the Romans carried it over to where they were. But there's so much of that out there in our culture today. Christianity, comics, DC and Marvel both. It's one of those things where Hercules is in both DC and Marvel, which we'll get to on our next show because I figured that's too big of a character to be stretching out in a half-hour time period.
Yeah, I mean, he's, it's a matter of talking about, okay, which Hercules are we talking about here?
That's what I was saying. There's going to be a couple that we're going to talk about in our next segment. But before we get to that, and we just got into the Christianity part, we're going to go down to one of my favorite bands, Iced Earth, Melancholy.
The sadness go away. Come back another day. For years I've tried to teach, but their eyes are empty. Empty too I have become. For them I must die. A sad and troubled race, an ungrateful, troubled place. I see the sadness in their eyes, devoid of all the passion. Look at the pain around me. This is what I cry for. Look at the pain around me. This is what I die for. If the sadness goes I've said and done don't matter to anyone. Still, you push me to see something I can never be. Why am I the shattered king? I don't mean anything. I see the sadness in their eyes.
Welcome back to Chuckles Crypt, and we're here on Rhode Island Free Radio, of course, and we're talking about Greek mythology. And I know there's a lot of people getting excited out there because there are a ton of characters, and to go into this right, I would have to get like a 4-hour time slot.
We'd need a freaking seminar, basically.
Yeah, because the characters are mind-boggling, and the gods are mind-boggling. To follow each step that went down to that, it's just... It's out of this world. Do you think that there's still people that worship those gods that are over in Greece? Because I know, being Wiccan, we are allowed to pick those gods that Christianity says doesn't exist, but we are allowed to say, oh no, they still do.
Well, they still do in what sense, though? If they embody, like...
Do you think they still use the temples to worship them? Do you think they still go into those areas?
I know that it's funny you mentioned that because I mentioned H.P. Lovecraft a little while ago, creating a new religion by accident. Actually, I was reading up a little bit on Lovecraft, and apparently Lovecraft, when he was younger, used to worship the Greek deities.
Why wouldn't you?
And I forget. See, I want to give credit to the author who was writing this article that I read that points this out. But he said that I think this was back in the 1920s, okay, his point was that Lovecraft might have been the last worshiper of the ancient Greek deities. In other words, the kind of mystic as a teenager who actually, his belief, his imagination was so strong that he would walk through the woods and actually see the spirits and the nymphs, the nature spirits of the Greek myths. And that author's opinion is that he was the last one, which leads me to believe that cynicism has probably taken its toll. I don't think, as far as I know, unless it's been revived. Now, there's always revivals, but at least as of the close of the 20th century, I don't think so.
You don't think so? Well, it's possible that this will come back, like you said, is revived, because even the Irish now, their culture was slammed to the ground and was forbidden to talk Gaelic and all that other stuff, and it's now starting to come back up because the Irish believe that we don't need to be forgetting that stuff. And Greece right now is in a huge depression era, and I think one of the things that would help them is going back into their roots to sort of bring their people back up from that.
Yeah, see, the only problem, though, is with going back to the roots and reviving a worship is that the difference is that, let's say 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, the people actually believed in these beings. They actually believed in what they worshipped. Now the problem with going back is that they might go back as like a nostalgic thing. Okay, the ideals of ancient Greece, but what's missing is that belief. In other words, when the lightning flashes during a thunderstorm 2,000 years ago, that was Zeus.
Right.
Now it's electrical activity in the atmosphere. See, that's the problem, and that's a problem with a lot of these societies, whether it's Greece or the United States, is by giving up our beliefs in this, supernatural world, it leaves you with a big hole, a big emptiness, and trying to fill it up by going back, it's tough. Like somebody said, I think it was Thomas Wolfe, the writer, that said you can't go back home again. So it would be nice, but we might have to revise it if we're going to do that.
So basically, what you're saying is the Greek mythology is just that. It's mythology and it's fairy tales, and it's probably going to stay that route.
And that happens to every religion after a certain length of time. In other words, when something comes along to replace it, whether we advance in technology, whether people are conquered by somebody. In other words, once a religion is discredited,
right,
I think it stays discredited.
I mean, this is a subject that I thought would die out because it's not really, you have to read to get into this, but it's still really popular amongst all age groups, and it has a broad, very open range that they use with this. I mean, they use these on magic cards, characters like the Senator.
Right.
They use them in movies like Percy Jackson and the Olympians, which was a really good movie. We brought in a lot of the Greek mythology. They've even brought it back into a television show, Once Upon a Time, where they're starting to introduce some of the Greek stories in, which is rare at its own. It's not just the Americans, but they're introducing characters like Medusa in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool to see that these kids are seeing these characters and whatnot and saying, I want to know more about these. And they'll actually go and online, not the library. No one goes there anymore. I'm sorry, Mr. Garner, but they don't. They'll go online to research these characters, or they'll see it in a comic, be DC or Marvel, and say, hey, I've heard that character before. And now this person's latched into this comic series because that character was in there.
Right, but they've morphed into something, let's say, well, and besides, as you know, besides the Greek mythology, the other big mythology these days, both in comics, movies, and is the Norse.
Yeah, big time Norse.
Yeah.
Now, the only reason I brought that up to you, because there is a large group of Norse worshippers out there that have sprung up, which leads me to believe that the Greek mythology isn't as dead as we think it is. Because the Norse guys are coming back, and these guys all believe in Thor, the god of thunder. And they know that, science, they know what it is, but
Right,
there's
well-
a small pocket of this starting to come back out to the skies.
Well, that'll be the real question, whether this, endures and grows. If this small congregation of worshipers actually believes what it is they worship is supernatural, is God's, do they really deep down believe that? If they deep down believe that, in other words, if they have done kind of a double think and they've rejected technological modern society so completely that they say, you know what, technological innovation and modern things are just something that leads us astray from the true path and what disguises, the way things really are. In other words, putting like a black curtain over reality. If human thinking can get back to that, in other words, throw out all the technological devices that we've come up with since that time, yes, it will take a particular kind of mind, to do this, but can it be done? Yeah.
Of course it could. Now, one people that I know that you don't like to worship, but I've been in a concert and I've worshipped him once in a while. We go down to one of my favorite bands, Lordy, and here it is.
Oh,
The
Lordy.
Riff.
Practice what you preach.
Welcome back, and like I said, we're getting back to the end of the show, and there is way too much of this that to cover in a half-hour show, Mr. Garner. I could have gone into the names and everything and gotten really in-depth into the characters, but the end part of this is the Greek mythology is definitely pop culture, and it's in your face today, just as heavy as it was 1,000 to 2,000 years ago, if not more so because of television and internet. It is definitely a big thing amongst everyone, children, old folks, you name it.
Right, which means that we're going to go to a part 2.
We're going to have to...
In the next episode, we're going to continue this discussion.
The next discussion we are going to bring up is the man himself, the most popular Greek mythology character out there, Hercules. So we're going to wrap things up here in Chuckles Crypt with System of a Down's Aerials.